Hi there, thank you for taking the time to watch this webinar. This is actually not the live webinar, it is coming up in a few minutes, but during the webinar I suddenly realized that I'd forgotten to press the record button at the start, so now I'm just recording what you guys would have missed. So welcome. And let me just share with you a little bit about me. First of all, my name is Niamh. It is spelled N-I-A-M-H, and that is a good Irish name. M-H is like a V in the Irish language. That's why it's pronounced completely differently than the way it's spelled. So it's Niamh, and Cromodomejo is my last name. I'm Irish, living in Geneva, Switzerland. And I have a company called Manage with Clarity, and I am a certified facilitator of the Work of Byron Katie. So what I do is I coach clients on managing their lives with greater clarity. And the tool that I use most of the time is the Work of Byron Katie. It's a really powerful tool, and I'm really happy to share that with you right now. So let's get started. First with a quote from Byron Katie. "Seeking love and approval is a sure way to lose the awareness of both. You can lose the awareness of love, but never love itself. Love is what we all are. So if love is what we are, why do we look for it so hard, and often with such poor results? Only because of what we think, the thoughts we believe that are not true." So let's get a look at those thoughts that we believe that are not true. The first thing that I'd like you to do is take a pen and paper and list all the areas in your life where you consciously or unconsciously seek approval. You might surprise yourself when I list a few here. They might resonate with you. So first of all, this is the biggie: how you look and your body. We are so much approval seeking in that respect. You know, we want to fit in, and society and magazines and media would have us believe that we're not good enough, and this is really can be devastating, the extents that some of us go to seek approval in this area, with eating disorders and dieting, and yeah, just really sad how people are looking outside themselves for love and approval, believing that that's where it's going to come from when they get thin, for example, instead of looking inside. So how you look is a big one. What you wear. Oh, they'll approve of me if I look like this. And what I can share with you for me, you know, when I was younger and I really didn't understand any of this, I prided myself in being able to fit in with different people. You know, if there was people who were wealthy, I could fit in with them and talk the talk. And if people were poorer, I could talk the talk and be that person too. And I was a master at basically manipulating myself to how I think other people wanted to see me, because I was desperate to fit in and get approval, not realizing that all that time when I was looking for it outside of me, totally absent inside here. So that's been so powerful, by the way, for me to discover and learn and just get it, basically, that the only validation that really counts is when we are approving of ourselves. And then we have no need for the outside approval. So we're free. We're back to our true nature and living a much more in-flow, happier life. Another one, like I just mentioned, how wealthy or poor you want to appear. Oh gosh, you know, if I wear these expensive sunglasses, you know, they won't approve of me. They'll think I'm that rich cow. And if I look too poor, then those other people won't approve of me. So catch yourself if any of these apply to you. It's really interesting what we do. Innocently, all of course, it's an innocent need for fitting in, approval. What you spend your money on. If I give some money to charity, I will be approved of, I will be spending my money well. If I splurge it all on a trip to Vegas, I will be judged and people will disapprove of me, so I better spend it in ways that people will approve of me. How good a parent you are. You know, those children, are they behaving, are they cooperating and showing up as those you've reared them so well, and let's hope they're cooperating. That's a big one for us. How our children show up, and how we treat them as a parent. It's a really challenging role to be a parent, and to be a perfect parent, impossible. I have 3 children, so I can definitely say that. And that's an area where we're also desperate for approval. Especially, I can remember when my children were babies, approval from my mother, where she, I was basically, in my eyes, I thought I was doing everything wrong. So that was a big one. How spiritual you are. I would have suffered from that in my early days of doing the work. I really thought, if I behave like this, I have to behave evolved, because I've been training, I certified in the Work of Byron Katie, and it involved extensive training. So I really should be acting spiritually evolved since I've done all of that. I want people to see me in that light. Very stressful. Back to our true nature, and just allowing us to show up as we are is a much more freeing way to live. How clever you are. If you want to appear intelligent, it can be really stressful as well. And hiding that part of you where you don't feel so clever can be really stressful. And again, looking for approval, looking for validation from the outside on how important we are. How you so don't care what people think. That's an interesting one. When you really want to appear like you don't care, they'll think I'm cool because I don't really care what people think. And again, approval seeking in real disguise, I should say. The next, and there are some people who genuinely don't care what people think. And that's fantastic too. How good you are at what you do. Your job, that can be a real source of wanting to show up as the expert, great at what we do, and in order to get approval again. Of course, there's genuine reasons too that you want to do that. You want to serve and you want to make a great impact, and that's the healthy stuff. What we're looking at is the areas where it's stressful for you. What a great daughter or son or sibling you are. This is the last one I've got in here, but probably the most powerful one. Our parents are the greatest influence, and I work with a lot of clients on this, and it usually goes back to that approval from source, which is parents. If they wanted us to go into a certain career, or wanted us to look a certain way or behave a certain way, and not getting their approval if we want to behave the way we want to behave or do what we want to do, that can be really painful. Can be. So they're just some of the ways that we suffer, basically, from believing that we need other people's approval. So just ask yourself this question. This is just some food for thought. Where do you get those standards from? Because basically we set standards, and for example, being size 8 or something, to be really thin, whatever. So that, and when you don't achieve those standards, how do you notice how you deny yourself approval? Okay, so just ask yourself, are your standards too high? This is self-approval I'm talking about. Yeah, are those standards too high? And if they are, ask yourself, well, why would I have that standard? Give yourself a break. That can be something to really think about. And also, when you don't achieve that standard, notice the shame kicking in. Especially, I was watching Brene Brown recently, who's a shame expert, and she was saying that for women, our biggest shame comes from just not being able to do it all when we're expected to do it all. To be the perfect housewife, domestic goddess, mother, and in our work as well. We're just juggling so much. And when we don't achieve those standards, shame and self-disapproval. So just catch yourself and try and just bring in kindness and compassion and give yourself a break there. And just imagine if you didn't have any standards and you just allowed yourself to show up exactly as you are and just live from your true nature, how freeing would that feel? If there was no such thing as standards, if I could just come and just extract any kind of standards that you have and you just show up as you are, So There's nothing about a standard intelligence test or a standard of perfect weight or a standard or a perfect amount of kindness or community. No standards, just free to be yourself. Ask yourself the question, what's right about me that I'm not getting? So usually we will check what's wrong with me. What can I improve on? So I invite you to just try this out for a while. What's right about me that I'm not getting? Because we usually miss it. We're too busy trying to better ourselves for the things that are wrong with us and getting to that ideal self that we never achieve. So just for a change, look at what's right about me. That can be a really powerful exercise to do twice a day, morning and evening. So let's get practical now. Here's an exercise for you to do. So think about an area in your life where you seek approval from people. It can be a certain crowd of people, a group of people from your work or in your family, or it can be just one person. It can be more clear if you're doing the work for the first time. It's easier if it's just one person, and make sure that it's not yourself. That can be a little bit confusing at the beginning. And just find a specific situation in your life where you're seeking approval from people. And we're going to do the work together on that now. And just before we do, just think about this for a moment. Get curious about what you think you would have if you got their approval. What is it ultimately? Why would you need their approval? Why would you want it? What is it that you believe that approval will give you? So just take a moment to make that list. It might be fitting in, a sense of security, and a sense of self-worth. All those things, and just notice all those things that you're trying to get from outside you, and you can never get them completely. It's kind of like a chocolate bar. You'll enjoy it while you're eating it, and then it wears off. Same thing when you're looking for approval outside yourself. But just notice what your mind would have you think. Yeah, when I get to size 8, I will have what? I will have the approval of everyone, or I will have some guy like me. And also what's interesting to notice, if you are younger and that's, or if you're, you don't have to be younger, if you're single and you want some guy to like you based on when you are thinner, is that somebody that you want to attract into your life? So that you'd always have that pressure of staying that weight because when you were thinner, they were attracted to you. So you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of stress there instead of just loving what is. And think about, since you've just hopefully realized that, yeah, it's not very effective looking for this approval outside of ourselves. If I'm working with a client privately, I'll check how could you get those things on your list from inside yourself rather than outside. Because bottom line is when you feel self-love, self-worth, and you're basically content on the inside, you no longer have that need to look for it on the outside. And that's basically where freedom is at, where happiness is at. It's the only place, I can promise you. I mean, it's so obvious to us. If you look at pop stars, they have just got millions of fans, some of them, and look at Amy Winehouse, for example. She's real evidence of how looking for approval on the outside just doesn't cut it for the inside. So we're going to do the work on I need their approval. And now what I'm going to do, because I know I had this part filmed, is I'm going to do some technical magic, and we're going to, from now on, you're going to just be able to see the real webinar or listen to the real webinar. So thank you so much for listening to this, and stay tuned into the very end because I talk about a program that I'm running, a 6-week program, so you can dive deeper into getting more awareness around needing approval, and also work towards just getting that approval from inside instead of outside. I'd love to have you on that program. So thank you. Okay, and for everybody that's listening to the recording, welcome. I'm sorry you missed the earlier part of the webinar, but I'll do something to solve that. Okay, right now, back to the question that was asked. Could that somebody that we're about to judge be ourselves? Absolutely, it can be, and it's recommended when you start out in the work that you use somebody, that you point it outwards, that you use somebody else. So for sure, we're definitely the biggest culprits, and if you can find somebody else, it's better. It's better. I'd recommend that you find somebody else. And if you can't find anybody else, just let me know, and I can help you out. Okay, somebody else says my husband, for my husband to be happy with me, great. Okay, somebody else asking, can I do me? Okay, so let's not, if possible, let's point it outwards to somebody else. Okay. Right, and the other question, just before we start on doing the work, is there another way you could get those things on your list? This is just food for thought. So make a list of what you think you would have, and just look at that list. So what I would have is happiness, self-validation. That's it. If they approve of me, I'll validate myself. So just think about, really, it's a really powerful question if you can answer that. How can I give that to myself instead of looking out there to get it from them? Yeah. Okay, that's food for thought. And we're going to have a Q&A at the end, by the way. So if you want me to expand on it further, we can then. Okay. So I need their approval. So this is what the work looks like. The work is 4 questions and the turnarounds. It's very simple, yet deeply profound. You can do it on your own, and it's really like peeling the layers of an onion. You can always find more. It's just fascinating. Obviously, I love it. And what you can find out through the answers to these really innocent questions. Some people take offense to the questions, but they're just questions. It's more the answers that people don't sometimes like to hear. Sometimes. Okay. So the first question is it true? Okay. Is there somebody, by the way, that would like to volunteer for me to do this live, to be my client? I'm hoping that I will now get a list of people going, pick me, pick me, pick me, so I can share this live. I'd love to share this live with somebody, with everybody. Otherwise, we'll do a popcorn. But if I can share it with somebody and I can take you off mute, that would be great. Oh, brilliant, Bron, thank you. I was just giggling because somebody said they need my approval. They're like Neve's approval, which I find very funny. Okay, brilliant, Bron. Thank you so much. Let me just take you off mute. Unmute, Bron. Hey, Bron.
Hi, how are you?
Yay, I'm fine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
That's all right. There might be a bit of noise in the background. My animals are being naughty.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. So what time is it? I know you're in Melbourne, Bron, everybody. Bron is in Melbourne, which I find very exciting.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm in Melbourne. It's 11:25.
11:25 p.m. Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So, Bron, who did you choose?
I chose the people that are in my Moxie Masterclass group.
Okay. Do you want to explain, just for the benefit of everybody else, what you do and what's who this is?
So I'm running a course that is to help entrepreneurs build their brand, pimp their site, and market the shiz out of their biz. And I've done a course before, which was the branding element of it, and this one has broadened the scope. And it's just put me a bit outside my comfort zone, like doing a much more intensive course, and also I've changed up the format of it. So with anything that's sort of new, it's made me think like, whoa!
Yeah.
So yeah.
Brilliant. That's a great example. Great example.
Yeah.
Okay. So and Bron is brilliant at what she does, by the way, if you want to any help with branding, let me know and I'll share her website with you. Okay, so Bron, let's find a specific example. Let's zone in with the work. It works best if we have a real specific reference to what we're looking for. So where is it time? Could you say like yesterday morning or this morning or even right now? I'm believing I need their approval, because you imagine them opening an email or looking at your website. Where is it? Find an example of where you think they're not approving of you.
Okay, so I from the last course that I did, I sent it out each week. I sent out the coursework each week, and this time I've sent it out daily, and I haven't given people a bit of an overview, and there has been some confusion in the group, and everyone's cool about it, but I'm being a bit more hard on myself. So if I was going to pinpoint it down, it would be, oh gosh, probably Friday when I sent out the last email, sort of saying, okay, this format hasn't kind of worked, and maybe I'll be changing that. Well, I am going to be changing that up. And from that, I wanted to get approval. And also in the Facebook group yesterday, when I said I'm changing the format because it's not working for me, and that was the kind of approval thing there as well.
Okay.
So either.
Okay, right. So what we're going to do to make this really juicy is imagine that somebody in that group, could you get a picture in your mind of you imagine somebody just not approving and saying, what's Bron doing here? Yeah.
Well, you know what it is? It's the silence. It's people not saying anything.
Okay.
Which is, so I'm imagining that they're going, oh my God.
Okay.
What was she thinking?
Okay, and what they're possibly doing is saying, wow, this is amazing. You know, she's really committed to us getting the best experience here. But you got silence and your mind says, oh God, they hate it. You know, they don't approve of me. Brilliant. Okay, so in that situation where you get silence in the Facebook group, when you put those comments, you need their approval. Is it true?
Yes.
Okay, and I invite everybody else, by the way, to look at your own situation wherever you've chosen and answer the questions as well. Okay. So Bron, can you absolutely know that it's true that you need the approval of those people in the Brand Moxie masterclass?
Yes.
Okay, where's your yes coming from?
That then I had to kind of think. I was like, do you think it's really true? And then I was like, no, it is, because I've written all this stuff down and I still want that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I've written down, is that what I meant to say next?
Go ahead. No. What was it that you were saying?
Just, when I wrote down things like I want peace of mind and security and a feeling of accomplishment and my self-esteem as well, like, and my professional, what I'm giving out that they're actually liking. So when I'm saying I need your approval, that's what I'm tying it to.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Brilliant. Okay. So let's have a look at when you're tying that all to, you're going to have security. What was it you mentioned? Security and
peace of mind, a feeling of accomplishment, my personal self-esteem and professional, just wanting to give people more than what they expect. Right.
Okay, so when you're believing that you need their approval in order for you to have all those things, peace of mind, etc., and you get silence, you get crickets. How do you react? What happens when you're believing their approval?
You know what happened? I didn't get silence. I put a post up saying, I didn't get any, just to clarify, didn't get anything back from the email, so that was silence. And then I put a post up saying I'm going to change the format, and I got loads of likes, and I'm like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so just don't go to the likes, go to the silence, the one that stresses you, right? Yeah.
Okay. So, email silence. No one sort of giving feedback, and you know what? People are busy as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm talking myself.
Okay. We're not. We're going to stay with it. Just stay with the pain of I need approval. Okay. So what comes up just when you're in that moment, and I know you've got the rational thinking behind it, people are busy, etc. But just go to that part of you, because there is that voice, the saboteur, that's saying, oh, you got silence. I got silence. And that means
I'm not good enough. Straight away that comes up. Instead of I need their approval, straight away I go to I'm not good enough.
Right. Okay. So how do you treat yourself? When you're believing, how do you treat yourself when you're believing I need their approval, and that kicks in?
Then I start thinking of all the things I've screwed up before.
You thinking of where you screwed up before? Yeah. So what happens is you go in the past and you find more evidence to reinforce
Yeah,
I'm not
dig
good
up all my
enough.
story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Find more evidence to beat yourself up. Do you see any images of the future? Like, oh God,
Yeah, when I'm being positive, when I'm not thinking that I need their
no, we're
approval
not being
or
positive here. We're going to the place where you get silence. Sorry, Brian.
okay.
I'll pay you later. Well, we're going to the place just to notice what kicks in when we're believing we need people's approval, what it's costing us in our lives. Actually, this is what we're looking at right now. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it is? I think that I censor myself when I think, and yeah, I censor myself thinking, well, somebody might not like that. And I think I'm not being 100% myself because I could probably be a lot more crazy. And I think I am censoring myself and even doing things I think, well, people might not like that. And that's not what I want to do.
Right. So restricted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I did a big sort of what do you call it, like promotion, single white female promotion, and some people were like, I think that's a bit racist, or asking me about it, and
Right.
people were saying to me, I think you should explain it more, and at the start I was saying, well, no, because this is how marketing works, it polarizes people.
Mhm.
But then yesterday I was like, well, maybe I should have, maybe that was a bad thing to do, and then today I'm saying, no, I'm going to like actually do even more things like that and make it even more polarizing. But I
Right.
sort of,
Right.
sorry,
Okay. And when you're believing that you need their approval, what do you do?
yeah, I'm
Restrict.
contracting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So not free, not being ourselves, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So how are you treating other people in the masterclass? How are you treating them when you're believing I need their approval?
Well, I'm a bit of a people pleaser anyway, but I also get on with people really well. So I am very available in the group, and which I really like, and
Mhm.
I get as much out of it as anyone else.
Yeah. When you're believing that
Yeah,
you need their approval, when you're really attached to that, just think of Velcro attached to a shoe,
yeah.
and you're really attached to I need their approval.
Uh, I think it's only in certain instances, and then when I'm in there, then I'm a bit more myself. Like, I think I'd go in waves
Yeah.
of getting approval and then just thinking, I was going to swear then, I just caught myself.
It's okay.
Screw it,
You
whatever.
can.
And then I sort of catch myself and then I'm okay. So when I'm in the group, I'm not feeling like I need their approval, like I'm not trying to get their approval.
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not being
Yeah.
good, am I?
No, it's you're being perfect, absolutely perfect. What I want to do, and you might it might not apply for you in this situation, but just everybody else who's looking at how you react. What we often do is we manipulate. So, for example, if somebody mentioned earlier about their husband, that they need their approval of their husband. So, what you I was going to say might do, what you will do when you're believing and you're attached to that, I need their approval, you're going to show up, behave the way you believe that they want you to. Okay. So you're not going to show up as yourself. And so that can be, yeah, whatever, yeah, show up as like the good wife or, good at the housework or whatever it means to you, whatever you think, whatever way you think they'll want you to show up. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
So,
I've definitely done that before.
yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure in this situation if it resonates with you, but if you're very
No,
attached,
not this situation, but I have before, definitely.
yeah, yeah. So just notice that it's a manipulation, and also what we tend to do when we need others' approval is we're not really we disconnect. We have a disconnect with them. We're not connected with them. We're really, too busy trying to find the way to get their approval. So showing up that way, and we're not really seeing them fully or listening to them fully. For example, when we're busy trying to get their approval. So
Mm.
some of that might resonate with some. Just notice that when you're really attached to that belief, I need their approval. Yeah. Okay. So just notice before we go on to question 4, does that bring peace or stress into your life when you're believing that you need the approval of the Brand Moxie Masterclass, Bran? Does it bring
Oh,
peace?
yeah, it brings stress,
Yeah. Yeah.
for
What would you
sure.
say on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, pretty high because I think it wouldn't be so high if the course was like a bit older, but it's just launched, so I'm just like checking the temperature and making sure that everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Um, because I'd hate them to be disappointed.
God forbid.
Yeah,
I mean,
what's that?
God forbid that they would be disappointed. But actually,
Yeah,
what we would also, if I was working with you for longer, we would look at, and what's the worst that could happen,
yeah,
if they really didn't like the class, or that it really didn't work out. We can always find some kind of gift in it with an open mind. It's all a learning.
yeah,
Yeah, and ideally, of course, we want to deliver well. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just before I move on, just everybody else, just put a number on it between 1 and 10, whatever it is, whatever you've chosen as your example of where you need approval, and you can type it in the chat window. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is it costing you? How stressful is it on a scale of 1 to 10, believing that you need their approval, and how is it restricting you in your life with them, in your interaction with them? Okay. Just put a number on that. Somebody's got an 8. Thanks, Angela. 5, 8. Thanks. Yeah. And sometimes it can feel higher than others, and even a 5, can be quite stressful. So let's try and bring the number down. So we're going to move on to question 4 now. So Bron, are you ready to shift gear? So just imagine I want you to really close your eyes for this one. I'm closing mine too.
Okay.
And so just imagine that you cannot, who would you be without the thought that you need their approval? So you cannot have that need for them to like your course that you're delivering. You cannot have
As
that
soon as
need.
you said that, I felt so much freer. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Who would I be? I'd be more confident and yeah, just a lot freer.
Right. Does that give you more space to enjoy your work, to be passionate about what
Yeah,
you're doing? Does that make sense?
yeah. I think it's not being. I think I just felt it in my chest when you said that, and it was that I would have more space, just so I could stand back and see it more objectively than having all my emotions on the line with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. To be able to take a step back, and also, to look, to see what what doesn't work. How do I feel about this? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And also notice, without the thought, this is really interesting. Without the thought that you need their approval, how do you treat them? There's no longer that kind of need or that condition, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I could be bigger than what I am now. I think confidence comes over, and even looking at some of the stuff that I'm putting out, like I could be a lot more confident in what I'm doing. Yeah, I think people know if you're being a little bit needy. I mean, you have to ask for feedback, obviously, but
Right. Yeah.
if you're like going, um, so yeah, I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And so just look at what exactly would you be confident about? Like, what is it, that you're, can you find some pride in what you share?
Yeah, like confident in my ability and just trusting myself that it is good, it has been good in the past, there's no reason why it wouldn't be good. And also not being so hard on myself that it's the first week and it's a sort of like a settling in process. And yeah, it doesn't, you know what it is. And I think that no matter what anyone thinks about you, it shouldn't change how you think about yourself. And it's really easy to sort of like buy into that.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah,
that's what clarity is. That's the way I called my company Manage with Clarity. It's about managing your life with clarity. Really not buying into it, getting clear. You're selling your soul basically by being in everybody else's business about what they think of you, rather than being able to flow in your true nature.
yeah.
Okay, so oops, sorry. Let's just back up. Okay, turnarounds. So the next step in the work is the turnarounds. After you apply those 4 questions, then you have 3 different turnarounds, usually depending on the belief. So for the belief, I need their approval, the first turnaround is the opposite. It's I don't need their approval. So Bron, how could it be as true in your life right now that you don't need the approval of the people in your Brand Moxie masterclass?
Um, how true is it, did you say?
How could it be as true? Say, okay, well, yeah, I don't actually need their approval. Why? How could it be as true? And I realize that, you're selling something here, and it depends, obviously you'd like to have an income from it. And how could it be as true that you don't need their approval?
Um, I don't understand that question. How could it be as true in your life right now that you don't need their approval?
Right. Okay.
Like,
Yeah. So let me share with you just from my example. So if I'm believing that everybody on the call, I need their approval right now. Okay.
yeah.
So let me just look at how could it be as true? How could it be also true in my life that I don't need the approval of everybody on the call here? So here's my examples. So of course it would be wonderful. I hope the call is helpful, and at the same time, I'm still gonna have my health. If I don't have their approval, I'm still gonna have my family. I'm still going to continue to do the work that I love. So I don't need it. Yeah, it's not a requirement.
Uh,
And also for
so
me,
I'm looking for evidence in the other
yeah,
direction.
really, it's evidence exactly in the other direction. And another big one for me is I don't need their approval because I notice that when I'm attached to it, when it's like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, life isn't very much fun. And I'm not validating myself and my needs and my passion, what I enjoy to do. So when I'm
Yeah.
living in that space of I need their approval, it's not fun. So there would be examples for
Okay.
me. And we usually try and find three, but however many come to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if it wasn't true that I needed their approval, the evidence for me would be that I'd feel freer and I'd feel more relaxed into it. Like I wouldn't be so worried about offending someone or even slipping into a corporate voice, which is what I teach people not to do. Yeah, so I'd be able to be a bit larger than life and a bit like, yeah,
A bit more natural then, yeah, a bit more you.
yeah,
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 it's coming back to ourselves. That's the quote that I had earlier, by the way, from Byron Katie. It's when we are seeking approval, we are not we totally lose awareness of the approval that we already have. And yeah, we can't when we're so busy trying to looking when we're seeking, um, we're not available to feel the any existing approval. So yeah,
I like
that makes
that.
sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's totally contradictory. Yeah, and it's innocent, These
Yeah,
are all learned habits that we learn as a child. Oh, if I act like that, I get acceptance, and yeah.
yeah, totally.
Okay, and what's interesting, and I will send you guys this podcast later. It talked a lot about when we don't strive for approval and we live out of our true nature, we actually end up getting a whole lot more approval, and it makes so much sense. If you think about someone in your life who really doesn't give a toss, it's just you're like, oh yeah, I like what they've got. There's something about them, and that's that real kind of it's self-love and certainty, and they're free to enjoy their lives rather than being at the mercy of others. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the other turnaround is the turnaround to self. So by the way, for turnarounds, we always go back. This is like a grammar class. This part. We always go back to the original statement. I need their approval, and the turnaround to self is I need my approval. We turn the their to my. So how could that be as true or truer, Bronwyn, that you need your own approval more than you need their approval?
I think that's the crux of it, to be honest, that I need my approval more than I need their approval. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very true that I
Yeah.
need my approval rather than theirs. Um, yeah, and that just comes down to, yeah, just being proud of the work that you produce, the work that I produce, and that's what it comes down to. Knowing that I've got the moxie to do it, and knowing that I'm producing something that I'm actually proud of. So that's where that comes in.
Yeah. So if you feel into that space of, being proud of what you're producing, what you're sharing, that whole personality, all the joy you're bringing to people with your larger than life personality. So how good
Yeah,
does that feel to let that in?
that feels amazing, and that actually feels much more freeing than yeah, just leaning into my personality, not worrying about what 100 different other people might think of who I am and how I'm putting myself across, because that's quite limiting.
Yeah, yeah. And when you're feeling into that, do you have any need for what they're thinking?
No,
If you've got yours, it's like, if I could gift you either, let's say I could gift you the approval of those 100 people in Moxie Masterclass, and not your own approval, or I could gift you your own approval that you're bathing in self-love and validation, really, and acknowledgement of yourself. Which would you take?
Yeah, I would take that down 10 times over.
Right. Yeah, and you also then get the what was it, the things that you mentioned at the beginning, that if you had their approval, you would also have
peace of mind,
security,
accomplishment, self-esteem, professional, wanting to give more. Yeah.
So really, if you take any message away from this call, it would be that, that if you can find those all for yourself and work on increasing those, then you won't have any need for external approval. Okay. Yeah. Okay, the last turnaround is the turnaround to other. So what we do here is we turn the subjects around, the I and to the there are the subjects. So they need my approval. So sometimes when we look at these in the work, in the turnarounds, we go, that doesn't really make sense. I don't know what to do there. But just sit with it a while. And sometimes if with an open mind, we can find something. How could it be as true in your life that they need your approval rather than you needing their approval? And you can add if here. So, for example, if they are really people pleasers, or if.
Well, it's kind of a teacher-student relationship. So I'm sure in some ways, if they're looking to somebody for an expert point of view, they would want approval that they're doing things right.
Yep.
So in that context, that is true.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. And also, don't you look at their websites, or they're kind of sharing their work with you, their brand, aren't they? Sometimes you critique them. Yeah.
So it is. Yeah, it is that way.
Yeah, so that can be really just eye-opening to see, wow, it's not all one-sided, we're all human. And imagine that, what a nice thought, they need my approval too. So you might post how amazing they all are later on Facebook, on the Facebook group, which I think you do anyway, actually. Yeah. Okay, so do you see anything else there? They need my approval.
Yeah, I think it's amazing how quickly that it just did turn around then, just asking those simple questions. Like it feels like a strong emotion for me at the moment because this is so fresh, but it's still like, it's not a major, like this is an overriding theme in my life at the moment, but it's not a major like it's not my husband that I'm trying to get to, but I can see that if it was, that the whole process would work exactly the same. So it's
absolutely. I mean, it works. Also, letting go of friendships that don't work. Or actually, here's one I thought of this morning. I forgot to share at the beginning. This might be something that resonates with a lot of people. If you're maybe visiting a friend or on the call with a friend or something, and you really want to go, you're just bored or whatever, and you feel, I'm going to let them down, or I'm going to upset them if I do. That can be a real, I'm not going to because I need their approval, rather than what works for me right now, what do I want, and just being honest about that. I can share with you a personal story. It's something small, but it was really eye-opener for me. I went away once with a group of girlfriends, which was a lot of fun. And then when they talked about going away again, I thought, I really would love. I love going away on my own. It's rare with 3 children that I get to, and I remember thinking, oh gosh, I need their approval. They'll be upset if I say no, I don't want to. I really want to go away on my own. And it was really interesting when I did say it. They were like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And it was lovely just to be able to be honest about that without, I need their approval, or they won't like me if I say I'd prefer to go away on my own. So there's a simple example of just being honest. We become a lot more honest. Okay, so thanks so much. Oh, there was one more aspect to that, Bron, just before I mute you again, is just let's go to the worst case scenario and look at, because it might happen, at least if it's only in our thinking. Imagine if they really don't approve of you, if you really were to get. And I'm not saying this would happen, but just to know that if it did, you would be okay, can be really, really helpful in letting go of that need for approval. So imagine that they didn't approve of you. What would be the gift in that for you?
It would be knowing what I had to change in the future with the way I format things, and also, sometimes when you think that the world's going to end if something really bad happens, and then the world just keeps turning.
Right. So you
And
get a
knowing,
reference point. Yeah. A reference point, proof that the sky didn't fall in.
yeah, it is. It is a Chicken Little thing, and it's yeah, just knowing that. Okay, well, that was shit, and then you feel sorry for yourself for a bit, and then you move on, and
Yeah.
then it's okay.
Yeah.
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 And that's what the other thing I've been thinking is as well, everything, and especially I've had a client at the moment who's had huge failures one after the other, and I said, oh, that's no good. And she goes, no, it's brilliant. Now we know what doesn't work, and then we're going to focus on what does. So that's what I've been thinking as well, like loads of stuff that I've been doing. Some things work, some things don't.
Yeah.
And it's kind of focusing on, that was a learning curve. That was great.
Super. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's there's one that I'd like to share also, that for me, what I notice when I'm believing that, or when, sorry, if I don't get somebody's approval, the gift in it is I get to practice just being okay with that. It's the ego. It's practice letting go of that egoic need for, those people to like me. So it's and what I love to do, it's part of the work I do with clients as well, is just being with that discomfort. I get practice for it. So there's a gift in it for me. I get to practice being comfortable with discomfort, and that's another key to happiness as well. When you're able to allow discomfort, those yucky feelings in, it gets easier and easier. Okay, thanks, Bron. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm gonna mute you again. Okay. So if you have any questions about that, I'm laughing at this. I took this photo half an hour ago because I was warned, really, just don't take images from Google Images. So I took a photo of me putting my hand up. So I'm just going to put all the hands down, and put your hand up if you have any question, and I can take you off mute, or just type it in the chat window if you prefer, if anybody has any questions about what we've covered so far, or is it all crystal clear? Any questions, any comments? Don't see any hands going up, but I'm just going to wait a moment while I'll just give you a moment to type any questions or comments in, or feedback, or just check what's going on in your mind. It's like, yeah, that's all lovely, but it doesn't work for me, or just share that with me. It's that's all lovely, but you're a pain in the butt. Share it with me. Whatever it is that's coming up, just let me know. And if I can suddenly lots of comments. Great. Okay, it's not over yet. Hang on in there. We've still got how many more minutes? 6 more minutes. I want to share something else with you. Okay, so this is mainly just really nice comments. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Don't seem to be having any questions. Right, I see somebody has put, I need, as a turnaround, I need me to approve of him. I'm not sure if that's a question. Don't see a hand up, but so since that comment is in there, that's a turnaround. Instead of I need his approval of me, the turnaround, I need my approval of him. Right. Okay. So, Bettina, I'm not sure if that was a question or just a comment. Another turnaround. Oh, right. Okay. Another turnaround. Oh, that would be the turnaround to other. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, you turn the two subjects around. So the original statement, Bettina, is I need his approval of me. So the I and the his are the two subjects. And if you switch those around, no, I need his approval. He needs my approval. And to look at, that's the turnaround to other. He needs my approval. So I need him to approve of me. Yeah, it's also a turnaround. I need me to approve of him. Yes. Yeah, with grammar, sometimes I have to look at that. Yeah. It is a turnaround. So how can I get that? How, I need myself to approve of him, and then examples of how can it be as true that I need me to approve of him. Yeah, and also I would be careful with that one when you're looking at I need me to approve of somebody. If you don't, be okay with it too. Just to notice. Yeah, or it could be, well, I noticed that I don't, so maybe I should look at why. People are our mirrors. If we don't approve of them, why is that? And take a look at that. Whatever we're judging, if we have a judgment about somebody that they, well, I don't approve of him because he's just selfish. Yeah, just take a look at, is there space in your world for selfish people? That's a really powerful question. I like to look at that. If you don't approve of somebody, if it's, well, I don't approve of them because they complain, is there space in your world for people to complain? If you're zen, if you're at peace, then why not? There can be selfish people around, there can be mean people around, etc. And just look at why, get curious about why you're being triggered about that, and do the work on it. Okay. So very, very good. Karen is saying, very good to realize that at the end of the day, even if I don't get the approval, it doesn't matter because I didn't give up my truest values to get what I think I need, i.e. love. When getting approval, wouldn't have gotten it to me anyway. So at least I was true to myself. Super. That's a great realization. That's great clarity. And honestly, getting it's what's really interesting to notice. You think you need their approval, and the question I asked earlier, what do you think you would have? You wouldn't have that anyway unless you can feel it for yourself. If a million people, if the Queen calls you with approval, saying how amazing you are, if you don't feel that yourself, then it's not going to make a difference. Okay, so really the key takeaway, I hope, is just finding that about yourself. Looking at what works in your life is a good place to start. What works about what am I doing well in my life. Okay, so here's a question for you. Do you want to be fearless? And I took a photo of this. It's on my wall. It's a card on my wall. I love it. And it's just remembering, when we are fearless, and I have to admit, I'm not at that stage where I'm completely fearless yet. And when we can really let go of that need for approval, and when we can be okay if others judge us, that's freedom. So the more that I practice that, the more free I feel, basically. So if that's something that attracts you, if you can imagine a life where other people, what they think of you doesn't take up so much space because you're too busy enjoying your life, too busy having a good time, basically, and where you get to feel more present because you're not in their business imagining what their opinion of you is. When you're back present with yourself, it's a real wholesome feeling. So if that's something that you want, then I'd love to share with you. I've got a 6-week program called The End of Approval Seeking, which I decided to run just because I'm so passionate about this subject. It's freed me up so much, continues to. It's an ongoing life work for me and also for my clients. So if it's something that you'd really like to delve deeper into and get specific about the areas in your life that you're struggling with, that you're not free because you're very much in the approval seeking mentality, then I'd love to have you on my program. So with the program, you're going to get a weekly group call, just like this, except you'll be unmuted and a real confidential area and safe space for you to share what's going on for you. We will absolutely do the work every week on letting go of your need for approval in all areas of your life. It starts on Thursday, April 2nd at this time. And you'll also get a private 90-minute call with me to help you identify the areas in your life where you sabotage yourself the most. So to really become more aware of, sometimes we really don't even realize we're doing it, that we're in that act of approval seeking. So just having a private one-on-one call can help with that, to get clear, and also to do the work one-on-one. Okay. With that, also, I'm going to create a private Facebook group where you get the support of a community. So not just from me, I'll be very active in the Facebook group, but also of other people that are on the same journey as you, that are really want to get free from approval seeking. So I'm going to be promoting that, and I haven't got the flyer up yet. So it's going to cost $497 for the 6 weeks, 6 weeks, 1 hour call plus the private call with me. And just for today, for thanking you for being on this call with me, and just because it's an early bird price, then I would love to really encourage you to sign up today for $297. That's just going to be valid today, because I really want to encourage you to do this with me. And if you're interested, you can email me. I'm going to send you my email address, show you my email address in a minute. Before I forget though, I'd like you to check out thework.com. That's where you'll get lots of free resources for doing the work. So if it's something that was interesting to you today, then you've got lots of free resources there. I'd highly recommend you checking that out. And you can also check out my website, and you can sign up. I've got a 7-day challenge on there for dealing with the difficult people in your life. So you can sign up for that. And as a result of that, you'd also be signed up for my newsletter, and you can learn about other events. I've also got a blog on there, and I'll be soon publishing a new blog post about approval. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for attending. It's 2:02, so I've been pretty much on time. There is my email address. It's neve@managewithclarity.com. And if you've got any questions, any feedback, or if you'd like to sign up for that program that I mentioned, the End of Approval Seeking, this 6 weeks program, then please drop me an email and we'll take it from there. So thank you so much. I'm just going to go through and see if there's any more questions. What time will the calls take place? For the 6-week program, from 1 to 2, it's exactly this time. Now, in saying that, I'm flexible, so I will send an email out to everybody signed up and do a doodle poll in case that half an hour earlier or later would make a difference, or if everybody preferred Thursday. I'm flexible. So if I get that feedback that somebody would love to take the course and the timing isn't right, then we can work on that. And also I would say that I'll record the calls and send the calls to just to the people that have signed up, not to anybody outside of that circle. So you would get the recording. So people think, thank you. It's such a pleasure. I'm really grateful that you took the time out. I love to share this work. And so I'm grateful to have an audience that will listen to it. Okay, I'm also going to, on the recommendation of somebody, just type in my email address, managewithclarity.com, send to all. So there you have it. You should have my email address up now. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate the feedback, and I hope you enjoy the work. I'd so recommend that you continue to practice it. And any questions at all, any confusions, please don't hesitate to drop me an email. Okay, I'm going to try and hang up now. I have to figure out. I'm not very technical. But by the way, this is a weekly call I forgot to mention. So by next week, I'll have it down.